You know, it's creating a real buzz these days. Natural superfoods. And one in particular that's really caught my eye, it's painting the health scene, this amazing purple color, is the maqui berry. Comes straight from Patagonia down in South America.
It really is generating a lot of interest, yeah.
Right.
And we've actually got this fascinating report here. It's the Global Maqui Berry Market Report 2025
Mm.
from Cognitive Market Research. It really puts some solid numbers behind all that buzz.
Right.
You know, projections, growth rates, a detailed look across different segments, regions. It's all in there.
Exactly. So our goal today is really to, well, dig into this report, pull out the key insights. We want to get a handle on the current state of play for maqui berries and, get a sense of where things are headed.
And the numbers are pretty striking right off the bat.
Yeah, that projected market size for 2025, it's USD 8.94 billion. Pretty significant.
And the growth forecast,
Yeah.
even more compelling, I think. The report anticipates a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 13.20% between 2025 and 2033. Yeah, potentially hitting, get this, USD 24.1 billion. That kind of rapid expansion really speaks volumes about the growing consumer appetite for natural, organic superfoods.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What's actually driving this huge surge? The report must point to some key factors.
Oh, definitely. A major contributor, as you might expect, is the increasing popularity of plant-based and vegan diets.
Makes sense.
As more people shift that way, they're actively looking for nutrient-dense plant sources. And maqui berries, well, they fit perfectly.
It feels like you see maqui berries popping up everywhere now in health products, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's another big driver, the expanding use of maqui berries in things like functional beverages and supplements.
Right. Smoothies, drinks.
Exactly. Think smoothies, energy drinks, even just your daily supplement capsules. Maqui extracts, powders, they're becoming really common ingredients.
And then, of course, the health angle itself. I keep hearing about the amazing properties of these little berries.
Precisely. The growing awareness of the health benefits, especially the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, that's a powerful force.
Okay.
And this is largely down to their really high concentration of anthocyanins.
Ah, right. That's what gives them the color.
That's it, the deep purple color.
Mm.
And these compounds are responsible for a lot of the health perks. They basically help protect your cells from damage.
So demand is clearly strong, but are there any bumps in the road? Any potential hurdles? Does the report mention restraints?
Yeah, it does touch on that. One important factor is the relatively high cost of production.
Okay.
To really preserve all that nutritional value in maqui berries, you often need advanced techniques, more expensive techniques.
Right.
And that higher cost can definitely be a barrier for some people, especially if they're more price conscious.
That makes sense. Yeah. If it costs a lot more, you might look for other options, maybe cheaper ones with similar benefits. Anything else holding things back?
Limited awareness and availability in some parts of the world is another challenge mentioned.
Ah, okay.
I mean, while they're getting more popular really quickly, maqui berries aren't exactly as stable in every single grocery store yet. And a lot of consumers just might not know about them.
Right. Still got some way to go in terms of mainstream recognition everywhere. Okay, now let's shift focus a bit. Looking ahead, what are some of the key trends the report highlights for the maqui market?
Well, building on what we were just saying, that increasing consumer awareness of health benefits and just the growing interest in natural supplements generally, that's a huge trend fueling the expansion. People are really seeking out natural ways to support their well-being.
And it feels like the demand for potent, plant-based ingredients like maqui is right at the forefront of that.
Exactly. The specific demand for plant-based antioxidants. That's a major, major trend driving this market. There's a definite preference for getting these compounds from natural sources rather than, say, synthetic ones.
And how are people actually getting their hands on these berries and the products? It can't all be physical stores.
You're absolutely right there. E-commerce is huge. The report points to substantial growth being driven by the expansion in online retail channels.
Okay.
This basically makes maqui products accessible to consumers almost anywhere in the world, even if their local shops don't carry them.
Right, the online marketplace effect. Okay, let's zoom out a bit then. Look at the geography. Which regions are leading the charge right now in the maqui berry market?
So, according to the report, North America was the dominant player in 2025, We're talking over 40% of global revenue.
40%. Wow.
Yeah, a market size of about USD 3.31 billion.
Yeah.
And it's still expected to grow strongly, a CAGR of 11.9% projected for the region.
Yeah.
That dominance really reflects the consumer health trends there.
That's a massive slice of the pie. And
Yeah.
within North America, is it mainly one country driving that?
Yes, the United States is flagged as the leader within North America. Market size around USD 2.61 billion in 2025, and a CAGR projected at 11.7%.
Okay.
And that's largely put down to, well, Americans increasingly understanding and appreciating the berry's health potential.
Interesting. Now, I think you mentioned, or the report mentioned, another region growing particularly fast.
Yes, definitely. Asia Pacific. It's identified as the fastest growing region, looking at a really remarkable TAGR of 16.2%.
16.2%.
You've got this increasing focus on health and wellness, plus rising demand for natural superfoods in places like China, Japan, India. Those are key factors pushing this expansion.
And what was their market size in 2025?
Already pretty substantial, actually.
Right.
USD 2.15 billion. It really makes you wonder, with that kind of growth, could Asia Pacific eventually take the top spot?
That's a really interesting dynamic to watch. What about Europe? It seemed like they had a pretty big share, too.
It did. Europe held over 30% of the market share, size around USD 2.59 billion in 2025, and a projected CGR of 12.2%.
Okay.
And you see specific examples, like in the UK, there's been a noticeable rise in maqui consumption as it gets incorporated more into functional foods and drinks.
Right. Okay. And briefly, what about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa?
Sure. South America accounts for just over 5% of the market, about USD 339.72 million in 2025, growing at 13.6% CAGR. The Middle East is around 2%, estimated at USD 357.6 million, but growing slightly faster at 13.7% CAGR.
Okay.
And Africa holds about 1% of the market currently. That's roughly USD 196.68 million in 2025, with a projected CAGR of 9.2%. And, in places like Brazil, for instance, that overall trend of wanting natural organic superfoods is helping the maqui market grow there too.
Fascinating how it plays out differently across the globe. Okay, the report also breaks the market down in different ways, right? Segmentation. Let's start with the nature organic versus conventional.
Yeah, so the report indicates that while conventional maqui berries have the larger share right now, probably because they're more widely available and maybe a bit cheaper to produce,
Right.
the organic segment is actually where the fastest growth is happening.
That definitely tracks with broader consumer trends, wanting natural, pesticide-free stuff.
Exactly. It's a clear reflection of that preference.
Okay, what about the form they're sold in? Fresh, powder, liquid?
Well, fresh maqui berries currently hold the largest share by form. Consumers probably associate fresh with, maximum nutrients.
Sure.
However, the powder segment is growing really rapidly.
Okay. Why is that?
Versatility, mostly. The powder form is just incredibly easy to use. You can add it to almost anything, smoothies, yogurt, baked goods, you name it.
Yeah, that versatility is key for consumers and for companies developing new products. Okay, how are these berries primarily used? What are the main end uses?
The food and beverages sector holds the biggest share by end use, again, driven by that demand for healthier, functional foods and drinks.
Makes sense.
But the nutraceuticals category, think supplements, health products, that's also growing very quickly. It's fueled by that increasing consumer interest in plant-based health and wellness solutions.
So yeah, from boosting our smoothies to being key ingredients in supplements, maqui's finding its way into lots of different places. And finally, how are people actually buying this stuff? The distribution channels.
So the B2C business-to-consumer segment has the largest share currently. That's people buying directly, either through e-commerce sites or traditional retail stores.
Okay.
But interestingly, online retail is the fastest growing segment within that.
Right. Convenience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It underscores the convenience and the direct access that online shopping provides. People can just click and buy.
Yeah, the digital shelf space is definitely expanding the reach for maqui. Now, before we wrap up, the report mentioned the competitive landscape. What's the general picture there? Crowded.
It sounds like it's quite competitive, yes. The report indicates key players are really focusing on innovation, new product formulations, and also on expanding their distribution networks to reach more consumers.
Any specific company names mentioned?
It lists a few, yeah. Companies like HP Ingredients Corp., Shaanxi Lanier Biotechnology Co., Ltd., and Rainforest Supply, LLC are mentioned as some of the key players.
Okay, so a dynamic field. Right, let's try and pull this all together then. What are the main takeaways from our deep dive into this Maqui Berry Market report?
Well, in a nutshell, we're seeing a really substantial global market for maqui berries already in 2025, and it's poised for significant growth, driven primarily by health trends and the demand for natural products.
Hmm.
North America is the current leader, but Asia-Pacific is the one to watch for rapid expansion. And within the market, we see interesting dynamics like organic options and the powder form growing particularly fast.
That's a great summary. It certainly paints a picture of a market with a real momentum behind it. So, thinking about all this, the rising demand for natural antioxidants, the sheer adaptability of Maki products, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of innovative, maybe unexpected applications or product formats might we see pop up in the next few years?
Good question.
And, how might those different regional tastes and habits we talked about further shape where this global Maki market goes next as it keeps on this impressive growth path? Definitely something interesting for all of us to keep an eye on.